Now let's talk about Laravel policies. Another way to handle the permissions. Gates are for individual permissions, but policies are for grouping the permissions or gates related to one specific model. And this is an example from documentation, like make policy related to post, and in our case it will be related to article. So policy could handle that someone cannot access or edit someone else's article. And in our application it's already implemented with multi-tenancy. In article model we have global scope, filtering articles by user ID. But there is a slight difference. So how it works now for us? So I'm logged in as a user, I click on edit article, and for example I want to try to hack the system and guess someone else's ID article. And I get 404 not found. But what if you, instead of 404, you would like to actually give a proper message like this is not your article, you cannot edit that or something like that. So our global scope is just filtering the articles. But policy is what could actually authorize someone to edit the article. So let's add a policy on top of that multi-tenancy. Also, there are a few things to remember about policies, and documentation is pretty long, but I will explain you the main thing. So policy is related to a model, and in our case, this is exactly what we will generate. So PHP artisan make policy, article policy, related to model called article. Policy created successfully, and by default that policy already has some set of rules. So app policies article policy. This is what is generated, and what we're interested in currently is update. Update certain article by a certain user. And similar to the gates, that function should return true or false. And it's pretty similar to default Laravel documentation example. We just return whether that's our user ID equals to article user ID. So now we have that rule inside of the policy, and to use that policy, you should register that in auth service provider. But for that default case, the newest Laravel version has auto discovery, so we don't need to register that anywhere. We will just use that policy, and there are a few ways to use that, like user can or via middleware. But what we will use is probably the most simple one, this authorize. So in our edit function and in our update function of the controller, we will add this article and similar to update article. And also it actually should be in the destroy. So I wouldn't be able to destroy someone else's article, like delete that. And now let's remove that multi-tenancy for now. And let's refresh that page and let's see if we still have 404. Instead of 404, we have 403, which is technically still an error, but with a different message. And on top of that, you can customize that message. In the policy responses, you can do something like this. Go back to article policy and add something like this. Response and then use response. So response deny would be you do not own this article. Refresh that page again. You don't own this article. So this is a way how you can use policies if all your permissions, all your gates are around specific model. And in the repository, I will leave the policies, but comment back the default multi-tenancy filtering. So you can choose whether you use one or another.